we're live. Welcome to Long Live Podcast. I'm James Reardon Waters. It is a clear night. It is quite cold out there, but it's not as cold as it has been. March, getting warmer, getting warmer. Looking forward to spring, looking forward to summer. Tonight I am joined by Oliver Robinson to discuss something that I try and stay out of as much as possible because it depresses me, current affairs, where we will go over topics such as Extinction Rebellion, coronavirus, and many, many more. You want to introduce yourself, Oliver? Tell us what you're about.
Hello. Many of you probably know me as Big O, to be fair, not Oliver Robinson. You'll know me a bit Oliver Robinson if you like a few memes, because that's what you see you come up on your Facebook. But yeah, I'm here to discuss what's going on in the world.
Current affairs, man. Right. I was very interested in. I was very interested in. We were talking on the old mobile phone about Heathrow, and
Yes.
I mean, I do make the joke, but I do honestly try and stay out of it as much as possible because it does just depress me. But I hear, I get the occasional news stuff about on my feed or whatever, and Heathrow shutting down. No, was it denying? You because you're good with storing that information. What happened? You know.
Well, basically, under the last Labour government, New Labour was when they originally proposed to expand Heathrow at a third runway, because at the time it was very much a hub and spoke model for airports. Basically, have all the planes come into one area, everybody jets off to different places, moves around planes, makes sense, gets everybody in one area, and that's sort of gone a bit currently because everybody's going direct flights these days with low cost and stuff like that. But there's still the need for Heathrow to expand because it's the only airport other than London City inside of the M25. So it's quite important for London.
Yeah, that's true. Because Gatwick's outside Stansted's. Yeah.
And London City's too small for any stuff to like America or anything. They can't fit the planes in. So for Heathrow to expand, it's basically, they class it as a national priority infrastructure-wise.
Right.
And after David Cameron came in the coalition, one of the Lib Dems' pledges was to scrap the third runway. So they scrapped it in 2010. And after they got out of coalition, the Tories jumped straight back on it to try and get a third runway built.
Right.
Then you had your Zach Goldsmith, who quit and everything over it because they were all the local MPs.
Who was Zach Goldsmith for everyone?
He was a Tory. He was the one that ran for Mayor of London. Against Sadiq Khan. And he was a bit racy, should we say, and he didn't win. And so a lot of them quit. He quit as a Tory, but they didn't oppose him at the last election. They let him run as an independent, and then I think he lost his seat, and he's currently a Lord. They made him a Lord so he can still sit in the cabinet despite him not having a seat, which is
above jurisdiction of any sort of
classic
House of
Tory
Lords,
for
right?
you.
Right.
But currently, they'd given the go-ahead for Heathrow. Boris was very quiet on it. He actually went on a Foreign Office visit when he was Foreign Secretary to get out the country whilst the vote happened, so he couldn't be criticised for voting for or against it after his previous pledges. So he actually ran off, in effect, from the country to avoid a vote. On taxpayer money, nonetheless. It was on a RAF tanker. So he avoided that vote, and then obviously he's Prime Minister now. He said he'd lie down in front of the bulldozers to stop the construction of this runway. So he's the government's not appealing this decision. So the decision was, with our climate targets, legally, we can't build this runway because it goes against all of our commitments, which are actually in law. So Heathrow's going to appeal it, but the government's not. So Heathrow apparently have grounds to appeal this runway, but the government's choosing not to, probably due to Boris, I'd imagine. So that's the current situation.
With that, we spoke about the fact that I believe it was Extinction Rebellion who protested in Heathrow Airport, I think.
Yes, they did.
And
I think it was one of their I don't think it was the founder, but one of their guys, they were doing that drone thing where they flew drones not over the airport but within 3 miles of it, which legally means it has to shut.
I understand it,
Yeah.
I mean, So you're saying it was? I mean, I don't know enough, but that was a sort of protest in a way, or was it just
It was a protest. With it didn't really work though, because I think
caused a lot of fucking shit though.
That was Gatwick that the drone incident actually happened. They didn't actually get this one off the ground. They didn't stop anything at Heathrow. So what happened was, I think a lot of the guys got pre-arrested due to the threats.
Pre-arrest.
So they were arrested in preemption for what they were going to do. So nothing actually happened. One of their higher up guys actually got bit by a police dog in his own back garden when they came through and arrested him. I think he's doing him in for excessive force or something like that, which is quite bad actually, that they can sort of pre-arrest you for something that you haven't done, which quite concerns me from the civil liberties side of things.
Right.
Because I found you went to London yourself twice for the actual protest.
I went to both. I went to Extinction Rebellion both times.
Because I'm in London quite often, near Heathrow and Ealing. So I went up to the protest when they were on near Westminster. And I got trapped in them because they wouldn't let me go out to my tube station. They were shoving people around and being loud.
Who was the police or the protesters?
Yeah, the police. The protesters, some of the most peaceful I've ever seen, honestly.
The labelling of Extinction Rebellion as extremist is fucking bollocks. It's absolute fucking bollocks. And and you go there and you see what people do, and you do get a couple of fucking people that, of course, have taken a bit of smoked a joint, and they're, you know, just having a good time because that's what it's fucking about. And it is, you know, and that becomes the image of Extinction Rebellion, and all in both the government's view and the mainstream media's view, and it is absolutely, it's absolute insanity. And and you know, you go there with the risk of getting arrested, but it's just such a shame that, like, you know, the price we have to pay for just like speaking the truth, you know, it's like just, you know, speaking the truth about, you know, both in action and in words about this, you know, we can't go on like this, you know, it's very cliche. I mean, at this point, you know, economic doubt, ecological doubt and all of that, you know, we can't go on like this anymore. And to label as something extreme because, you know, there's that funny meme, you know, there's this funny meme of like the government saying, "Oh, I respect your right to protest, but now your protests are making a difference, so I'm gonna withhold your right to protest or whatever." And it's just it's fucking malarkey, man. I can't put my head around it. And you know, we had Rachel and Jack in the headlines because they got a coffee from McDonald's, and it's like, what the fuck, man? You know, like. It's like,
well, there's a meme that's quite poignant.
Yes, you live in society.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm on about. It's like,
I am very intelligent.
You live in the society you claim to protest. It's such a stupid thing. It's like,
or even criticize. You know. I mean, like you know, apparently criticizing the society that you're in while also being in the society is a contradiction. Which doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Apparently, no, we're not allowed to use the tools of our own society to protest it because that would be hypocritical.
What happened to freedom of action? Whatever. It's fucking it is crazy. But you know, nonetheless, you know, slow, kind of disappointing but real changes have been made through these sorts of protests, and you know, such as for example. The government at least declaring a climate emergency, right?
Course,
and the second movement was if you've declared the movement, what are you going to do about it?
They're eliminating the sale of new petrol and diesel cars by 2040 as well. They've moved that up to 2035 now. Good. Which is quite ambitious. I'm quite revolutionary, and I think that most private motor vehicles should actually be banned entirely. They're just not needed. Yeah. I mean, if you put all the money that people put into vehicles each year into public transport, we'd by far have the best public transport system in the world. Yeah. And you'd be able to fund it pretty much day in, day night.
Yeah. Oliver used to be vice chair of the Liberal Democrats. Yeah, I mean, you forgot because you're not part of it anymore, are you?
No, I left because I was not much of a fan of Joe Swinson, and I had a bit of a rethink of my politics as well. I just felt the party was going nowhere other than their Brexit message.
Yeah, right.
I knew was quickly going to come to a close, and after that, as you see at the moment, what headlines have you seen from the Lib Dems recently?
I don't. Like I said, I try and stay out of current affairs as much as possible. But
Well, even if you did, you wouldn't see any because
I haven't seen shit. I mean,
Yeah.
I do get the odd Corbyn, the odd Boris Johnson. I have to. I mean,
even Corbyn's dropped off now. He's resigning.
yeah, I know. I think it goes on. The more I forget the Liberal Democrats even exist as a
Yeah.
party. To be honest.
Well, I was a member.
quite
And I
honest with you.
forgot they existed. So
Yeah, it's like, what am I? Oh, I'm vice chair of the Liberal Democrats Party for Folkestone and Hythe. I don't know how that slipped from my head, even though that's quite an important role, should you say, right?
Well, I focused on more local stuff, so I'm a student rep and obviously vice president of the aviation
You're
society.
quite busy, aren't you?
UWL, yeah.
Yeah, quite busy.
And work down here, commute up in London, so I'm between a lot of places at once.
Yeah, man. It is. It's interesting. It's interesting. So your thoughts on Heathrow Airport not having a third runway is, of course, that you agree with it, or
I agree with it.
You're an aviation fan,
I
right?
agree with it, but not due to I'm a fan of aviation. Due to I think it won't make a difference. A lot of people think, oh, it's a third more planes. Technically, yes, but those planes were already ordered. Airlines
Try not
order
to
planes.
tap too much on the table because you're gonna get stuff on the microphone. You're gonna go, But go on. So,
Okay. What's that saying now? Oh, Heathrow, third bar, yes. So basically, airlines, they order planes 2 or 3 years in advance, sometimes 5 or 10 years. They'll order planes in advance. They order hundreds at a time, and then they decide where they're going to go. They don't pre-plan these planes. So regardless, these planes are going to be going to places like Manchester, Birmingham, Edinburgh, Glasgow. So these planes will have places to go. There won't be less planes in the sky if you get rid of that runway.
okay.
The only difference it will make for Heathrow is there'll be less planes circling overhead. So you see the planes that you see flying low over London when you're in London. That's because they're waiting for a spot to land. So they're flying around overhead, burning CO2 into the atmosphere, increasing local pollution. So you'll have less of that. So in a way, it's good. In a way, it's bad because technically it is going up, but those planes would go somewhere else regardless. So that's my view on it.
That's your view. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, this one is more of a. This podcast is more of like an educational lesson to me than the other three because, like, I am just like so very, unaware. Which is why it's interesting to have this segment because I want to keep things. I want to keep things varied and I want to keep things, fresh. I suppose. So yeah. Do you want to talk about coronavirus? Another very fun and optimistic.
Quite nicely,
I'm coughing because I smoke cigarettes, but
that's what they all say.
That's what they all say before they keel over and fucking die, man. Yeah. How many deaths? I feel like you know this. I feel like
it's less than 10,000. I think it was about 4,000 or 5,000. Okay. Don't quote me on that though, because I know it's a very specific number. I think I saw 3,800 today, but I think it's around about the 5,000 number. So it's not, when you think of 5,000, that's
we've got like 8. We've got like 8. Really? Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, we've got like 8 billion people on the planet, and that's a global number. So it is interesting. It is just a sort of. I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything. I don't know shit. But
oh God, no, neither am I. I only know basic level stuff from my work.
Yeah.
But other than that, from what I can see, the World Health Organization, I believe they said the current rate is around about 4% mortality wise, and I believe it's going to drop to about 1%.
It's dropping. Okay.
Which, I mean, 1 in 100 chance of dying. That's not that severe, really.
It's like walking across a road drunk.
And for the average person, that chance will be a lot lower as well. It's 1 in 100 for the general population. So obviously, old people that have pre-existing health conditions.
I'm in my prime.
So, mate, this comes around this way, you won't see me for a while. I'll be hiding.
No, I mean, Jack, who's upstairs and being very quiet, which is very, very generous of him. He had this idea of closing the windows. I was like,
Well, they did say it might be airborne. They haven't worked that out.
It might be airborne. I was just like, if you're gonna catch it, you're gonna catch it from passing someone on the street. I don't think it's.
I don't think it's gonna.
I don't think it's gonna waft through the window, right? Yeah, exactly.
Although, as I say, I'm not a medical professional, so don't quote me on whether that will happen or not. You never know.
It is. What's interesting? What's interesting is that it's not coronavirus. It's what's coming after that, right?
Yes.
That's the big thing. And the problem with I was in Copenhagen and I met a virologist.
Yeah.
He was like doing his master's or PhD in biology or whatever. He was my age, a few years older than me. And I really wanted to know more about antibiotic resistance and
Yes,
all that
Jack's
sort of thing.
been posting a lot about that recently.
Yeah,
actually.
he has. Yeah,
So I've heard about it in the past.
and he was. I asked, is it always when you take antibiotics? And he says, no, it's people who don't finish their. People
Yes,
who don't. So
don't
it's
finish
very.
their
So it's
course.
very. People who don't finish their course. So it's very important to finish your course when you take antibiotics because if you don't, you might be clean of the virus, but the antibiotic will leave you, but it will learn how to defeat the antibiotic. So you don't kill it off completely. Is that?
Well, yeah, it's basically like if you knock someone out and in a fight and you don't kill them, you've knocked them out. They will still remember the fact you've knocked them out. They remember how they've knocked you out, and they will be able to come back at you. Yeah. If you kill someone, they're dead. They're gone. A full course of antibiotics is a full fatal blow. If it's not a full course, it will get a taste of what's attacking it. It will know what's attacking it, but it won't be. It will be weakened, but it will be able to come back from it. Yeah. So in effect, it will know what's coming next time.
Yeah, and it is all Jesus. I think he might be coming to join us and to have a discussion about it. Who knows?
Yeah, he's heard virus.
He had virus up there.
Oh, I had one thing to add.
He had nothing to add. Okay. We need to like oil those steps or something, man.
Get some WD-40 on them.
Yeah. Go on.
So apparently, penicillin became what they called viruses became resistant to penicillin like 2 years after it came about. To put it into context.
Yeah.
Mad shit. Fucking hell.
Thanks, Jack.
See you in a bit.
Oh, I'll be down there.
Just remember, we can hear you wank.
So, yeah, and so antibiotic resistance is a real thing, and I remember Marcus saying something like, a friend of mine in New Zealand saying something like, well, if I'm one of the people that gets killed from the superbug, the big virus that's coming, then
he didn't mind, did he?
He didn't mind. It's no skin off my back. Well, it is, but like he didn't philosophically care, which is interesting because So it's a sacrifice for, well, like maybe a sacrifice for for the greater good, which is eugenics, basically.
Yeah, it is eugenics, actually. I was thinking that when I read it. But very slippery slope. Eugenics. Yeah, very slippery slope. It's a real moral, I believe in the strongest surviving to kill off the people that are weakest. Yeah. And ideologically, that goes from 0 to 100 real quick. So you've got to be careful of that sort of thing.
And I mean, like the things. I don't know. The thing is that I'm not too convinced that population control needs to happen because there's a lot of land. I think there is to a certain extent in how we.
It's land usage.
It's land exactly. So it's land usage. It's buying fucking apples from Papua New Guinea.
Well, look at this house you live in. How big is this house?
It's pretty big, man.
How many are in it?
Two, man.
Two.
There we go. Yeah.
You could.
Well, there's the other two over there.
Yeah.
But we have this section of it, so.
You could, if you redid this, you could probably fit 8 people in there happily.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because there are literally fields and fields of empty land. But it more comes down to usage and what we know, consumption and economic growth. In certain areas. I mean, not all economic growth is bad. Economic growth of creative ideas, of course.
Well, unlimited economic growth is completely destructive.
In some way. I mean, like the thing about economy of like creative ideas is fine, but but the thing is that when you have unlimited economic growth of, for example,
industry,
exactly,
heavy industry,
fossil fuels, obviously, and all of that. That becomes a real problem, and it's the convenience of not needing to switch just yet because that's just a long future ahead. I mean, I was talking to Rachel yesterday on the podcast about like how we don't really believe that our 60s are real life.
Yes.
It's just like, well, that's not really like a real thing, but you're going to find yourself one day, if you're still alive at 60, very much alive, feeling happy or sad, having to get out of bed, having to make a cup of tea, wondering what to do today. you know, maybe you have to go to work, maybe you have to write something, you know.
Well, you'll definitely have to go to work until at least 67.
Well, yeah. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
If it doesn't go up. But nobody, the French, talking about world events, the French, they tried to raise the age of retirement by 2 years. They shut the entire country down and got it back down again. You very rarely...
The retirement age is 68. Is it 68 now?
No, it's 60. It went up to 64, then they scrapped it. They put it back to 62. They've got one of the most generous in the world. Working conditions are very generous. Breaks are very generous. It's loads of unions out there still, and they've got one of the best quality of life in Europe. So it speaks for itself, really. Because you try buy something between 12 and 2 in France, no chance. Everybody's on lunch. Back home, seeing their families, have a long lunch, and they come back out.
I mean, I lived in Finland, and like even just talking about like you know, their education system is that they let people, you know, they have very long breaks, they have very short days in school, and you know, and a lot of the Scandinavian countries, sure, they don't have as much buying power in regards to you know, what buying power in regards to
but
like,
what's buying power when you're unhappy? I mean, being rich in a country that doesn't suit you, doesn't help you, it's no way to live. They know the basic things about making people happy, giving them a reasonable amount of time off. Family time is very important.
I mean, of course, it is the balancing of freedom and, you know, because I think freedom is very important, and you know, economic freedom is also very important in a certain way, because you know, in a certain respect, I believe. Jack, you check your messages. Check your messages. Yeah.
Give me another tea. Do you want a cup? Anyway, economic freedom.
Economic freedom, right? And getting very distracted. So yeah, economic freedom is obviously very important, but like, you know, what is economic freedom when, you know, your food's being fucking, you know, regulated by Monsanto, and your insurance company won't approve your surgery that might cost you your life, and you can't, and your drinking water isn't good, and you can't afford to get any.
It's not
you
that
can't
your
afford
drinking water isn't good. It's bottled and sold back to you.
It's bottled and sold back to you. Yeah, exactly.
And Nestle are horrendous for what they do to bottled water,
Right.
especially
You
in
got
developing nations.
Yeah, exactly. You got any news about recent developments in Nestle?
Not really. Nestle are still doing what they've been doing. I think I watched a Vice documentary not too long back. There was a community in Africa that they reached an agreement with a local tribe or something to use their river to bottle water, and they went past what they should have been doing and basically run this river dry, and were still continuing to sell the water back to them. And I think the entire town came out and just blockaded the factory until they backed down. But,
okay, cool.
Like companies, that's cool.
That's very nice.
And that's the sort of you literally have to physically stop these companies, or they will try what they can. I mean, Coca-Cola until a few years back, like within recent memory, was hiring hitmen in South America to kill protesters. Like, could you imagine if that happened in this country? It's just
This is the example of like too big to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that's usually like usually that's like a joke, but that's like, I don't know, maybe it's not a joke, but that's in this case that's like the whole fucking truth in a nutshell, man. It's like literally like so big that they can do whatever the fuck they like, and this is like the danger of corporatism, man.
Very much.
And monopolization and all of that. You know, it becomes such a big influence that there's just no stopping it. You know.
Well, I do apologise, but I am just about to drop the B word, Brexit.
Okay.
So I was reading a report today about it comes back to the corporations actually, with the USA and all this chlorinated chicken and shite that's apparently going to come over it.
Yeah.
And they were saying a free trade deal in the best case scenario with the USA would increase our economy by 0.016%.
Right.
And that's the best case with us having all this chlorinated chicken, everything over 0.016%.
And what does it even mean? Like, yeah, I mean that
You-
might
you
sound
wouldn't
very
even notice it.
that might sound very ignorant of me, but like, you know, I think economic economic growth in a national scale is just one very it's both just a statistical it's a statistical property or statistical fact, and it's just one of so many other statistical facts about, like, you know, regarding to like happiness or the amount of buying power people have, or like or like, you know, ecological state, you know, environmental sustainability, and all the rest of it. It is just
Well, economic growth can be unrestricted for a while, but you've got to get a cap on it. For instance,
Yeah.
Norway, unlike the UK, when they discovered their North Sea oil, they put together a trust fund for it.
Yeah.
So to reinvest back in the country, they've now got mostly electric trains,
Yep.
tram systems, buses everywhere. They've just dug the world's first ship tunnel,
Yeah.
which is going to have electric ferries on it. And last year, their trust fund made $34,000 for every Norwegian in the country,
Right.
and they're reinvesting it back in the country constantly. So they build, they invest, they put it back, and they put it back into making the country more sustainable whilst phasing out those other industries, because they know
Very
oil's going to run out. So they put it back.
Yeah,
into
we
the country.
we fucking don't for some reason.
No,
That's
we
the-
sold it all off to BP, Shell,
Alright.
all the oil companies that just bidded the highest amount to get to our oil.
Yeah.
That was very much Margaret Thatcher and her deregulation of the oil industry. But yeah, we didn't put any of it back into ourselves at all.
It's just, yeah, it's so fucking stupid. It is so. It is so. I mean, like, it's. I just don't have like words. It's just. I mean, it is just like, you know, it's immediate gratification for the sake of immediate gratification, and even without an environmental perspective, if you found the I don't know shit, but like, if you found the entire economy based on like, you know, something that isn't going to last, then what are you gonna, you know, if you're not going to invest in something else, then, you know, we're too, you know, yeah, it is crazy. It is. I mean, like, again, I'm just like, I have nothing else. I have nothing productive to say except it's just stupid. But
Well, a very basic example of something like this I saw the other day. It was about bakeries in the UK. I'm sure you remember when you were younger. There used to be a fair few about.
Right.
There was that decent one in Sheraton. There was even one in Lyd when I was a very small kid. I mean, Lyd of all places, you barely even have. There's about 2 shops in Lyd now, 2 actual like shops, and the rest are like takeaways.
really,
Yeah,
2.
Yeah, there used to be like a bakery. They're butchers hanging on just. But bakeries used to be everywhere. Small independent bakeries, like you've got Carmichael's up the street. Or was that Butchers? I can't remember. But I think that's a bakery, isn't it?
Don't remember.
No. And like the supermarkets went big on their bakery sections in recent years, bigger and bigger and bigger, especially like Moscow, Morrison's and Tesco.
Yeah. Before it burned down.
He did, and now they've got an even bigger bakery.
Maybe a bigger bakery.
And they've expanded all their bakeries. All these small independent bakeries have closed, and Tesco recently stated they were going to lay off 2,000 bakery workers after basically causing the collapse of local bakeries.
Alright.
So they'll grow to outcompete people, and then as soon as it suits them, gone. Don't care. They made their money. Doesn't matter. They don't make money from it anymore. Doesn't matter that people won't have bakeries anymore.
Kills the culture, and it just kills the culture. And this is the this is the real danger of corporatism, I think. And just
Because as soon as they can, they'll get rid of their butchers, their fishmongers, their bakeries, because these aren't high profit things for them. They look at them and they just look at the profit margin.
I think, and you might not like me saying this, but I think there is an incentive. I mean, I think there needs to be motivation in the rational choice of the consumer, because I think of course the society creates the individual, but it works both ways. And if people are simply unwilling to invest in their local community, and to do that.
I wouldn't say it's that people can't afford to invest.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm saying that.
Oh no, I do mean that actually. That's what I was trying to say, but the wrong way around. I think it's.
You think you do? Okay.
Well, look at modern life. How much free time's going down and down and down. It always will.
Yeah.
And people simply don't have the time to go to a veg shop, a butcher's, a bakery. That's why the supermarkets capitalised on this. They put it all in one place, make more profit. That's why supermarkets do so well. People have less and less time, so they need to maximise their free time. So for things like that, as much as someone might like to do that, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, right. And you know, we would have the time, but things naturally speed up to the point where they, you know, people, you know, the mold of society means that people are unable to have the time. I mean, this is the thing, man. I mean, like, I still think the only solution, I mean, there's two solutions. There's one, the first solution is real limitations on corporatism and what supermarkets do, and the other one is people simply making the fucking time to go to the vegetable and go to the butchers and go into the bakers. Not that I go to the butchers.
First to admit, I'm very hypocritical on much of my lifestyle.
That's the fucking thing, man. That's the thing.
And it's hard to come to terms with, because I mean, I'm an aviation student. I do 4 return flights a year.
Yep.
I eat whatever I want, copious amounts of meat. I ride a motorcycle that I probably don't need to. I could walk most. I could have walked here quite happily, but I just couldn't be bothered. And what?
I'm sure I bought that for you, but
You want? Is that for Oliver?
yeah.
Oh,
You should
cool.
bring it over here then.
Oliver,
I was like, I wasn't sure if actually.
have a drink, Oliver.
But,
What is it?
chocolate oat milk.
Oat milk.
Yeah.
Oh, it was for Oliver, wasn't it? This is before we started. Well, thanks very much.
It's not bad.
Thanks for giving me one as well.
See, look, I can go vegan. I
Thanks
just
very
can't be
much.
bothered. This ain't too bad.
Not too bad.
I've had
Okay.
worse chocolate milk that's actually milk. I'll put it that way. So yeah, no, a lot of it's, the problem is when you're born in a society where convenience is king, you are enthusiastic about every new thing that just makes your life easier.
I'll do it. We'll say, oh, you did. Thanks so much.
We'll do that again.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
And
Cheers.
also, and cheers. This podcast is just like we'll keep a top
I was
up.
trying to say cheers.
Cheers. Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's go.
got milk.
Let's the three of us go together. Cheers. Thanks, Jack. If you're going up the stairs, please just do it quickly. Doing it slowly. You're still making as much noise, just doing it for longer. It's a longer
Yeah.
I
period
was
of time.
thinking that while I was at the bottom.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
How far through are you?
We're pretty far through. No, we're pretty.
least
Got a lot to
halfway.
go. We got a lot to go. Well, we got a certain amount.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about, isn't there?
I mean, it's too much. Yeah, I mean, we stop whenever we stop. So yeah, back on track. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm an absolute sucker.
So
for convenience.
so individual responsibility. If you know, because to a certain extent, the government and the market are not, you know, and you know, the only are not like politically manageable by one person or a group of people.
No.
I mean, we can talk about that later about whether you know, anarchist movements can actually have a significant impact on those sorts of things. But one of the things I'd have to say is that if you can't change it like that, change it through individual responsibility.
Yes.
And to really prioritize your local community. And I really I'm happy to live in a town
I
that's
try
full
to
of
go to
creative.
Brooks when I can. I quite like Brooks, they're a local business.
Yeah, for sure. Give it to me.
I struggle to find local businesses I can think of that I vehemently support though.
Yeah, right.
Bars would probably be the biggest, to be fair. Like the Heart and Jam Jar, I try to go to as much as I can over spoons. That's always a hard choice as well, because you've got to think, can you afford it over the cheapest place to drink in Folkestone, which will always be Wetherspoons.
Wetherspoons, yeah. But the thing is that like, you know, I mean, even your music scenes, for fuck's sake, you have these like, you know, these Starbucks girls saying that anywhere with live music, this is what a friend of mine was saying. on Saturday at Kips, and he was saying like, oh, you know, these Starbucks girls, you know, I mean, not just Starbucks girls, obviously, but like, you know, loads of people.
Yeah,
are
very
like,
specific.
very specific. You know, this is how he said it. But he said like, you know, that they'll say anywhere with live music, and if it costs £3, they won't do it, but they'll still buy. They'll still spend £12 on 2 pictures, you know. And,
Yeah.
And this is the problem. I mean, like, this is the problem. I mean, you know, you can't, you know, this is the whole pinnacle of why the left-right argument still exists, because there's still an obvious responsibility of the individual to empower and support their local community, and this is the problem. This is and this is the problem. You can't just you know you of course, you know, unrestricted freedom to monopolize is obviously awful, but like you know, an individual choosing to go to Wetherspoons rather than support their local community, even if they say that that's what they want to do, is fucking hypocritical and bollocks. And so to say it crassly, to be honest, I mean, this is just my opinion, and I'm just sort of, you know, no filter. But like, the thing is that, like, you know, yeah, I mean, and again, if we're talking about convenience, you know, I mean, get involved, you know, don't just, you know, find a personal connection with your local baker or butcher.
Yeah,
I mean, if it is still, you know, if it is still something like that, you know.
Well, I'll give you a good example of that, actually. I used to, when I lived in Lyd, everything was a lot more local, so you knew everybody. Even in the towns, the local kebab shop, the local fish and chippy. Like, the fish and chippy was like the centre of activity in Lyd, even though it was shockingly shite. But I used to work at Dungeness, which is just shacks of people that everybody knows each other. You've got the little pubs down there. Yeah. I used to work at the Old Lighthouse, the tourist attraction. And there
Which one was the Old Lighthouse? The
Dungeness.
Dungeness. I used to go up there as a kid. Yeah.
You know, you got the big one and the small one.
Yes, you got the black one and white one. Is that right?
The one that's all black, that's the tourist one. The one that's black and white strips, that's the one they still use. And so you can't go up that one, or you get blinded in the face by light. But you can go up the tourist one. I used to work at the top of there. That was fun, going up and down all day. Yep. But there was still a fair few local fishermen down there, and I knew most of them by name. Like, one of them once saw me broken down. They towed my bike back to one side just because they knew me. I went in the fishmongers occasionally. I went to there because they had a fish shack. So they do like really fancy like buns, a bit of salad, and like bass or something in there. Like haddock or whatever they'd caught that day. So the menu rotated.
I mean, what did it feel like to? I mean, like, if I was to just invoke an idea, like, what was the difference in emotion and feeling?
It felt genuine. It genuinely felt genuine because you'd actually talk to people in the van. Did you feel like, how's the catch today? How was the sea conditions? Everything like that.
It's something people have forgotten. I mean, like, you know, you can blame social media as well to a certain extent, because, like, you know, we're becoming very personally impersonal, like, for like that, you know, very, very, very. I'm going to share this idea and what I think is my opinion, even though it might not be, and
very much be an echo chamber,
and an echo chamber. And on the other hand, very, you know, we.
I make a point of trying to add people that are an opposite to me.
Yeah, exactly,
like
exactly.
Marcus,
but like
Marcus, me and him are completely different. But
even then, you still view yourself in that. You still view yourself in that kind of like, oh, he's a libertarian. I'm a democratic socialist.
Yeah.
We are different.
You group yourself.
Exactly. And this is the problem, man. And like, I mean, I say this is the problem quite a lot, but it is. But like, I mean, I do this as well, but we don't. You know, our connections with people are less genuine, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. But we can, you know, if you do have that kind of like ability to, like, you know, and the genuinity of like of just go, you know, choosing to go to your local baker or your local veg place. You know, we try and buy veg from the market as much as possible, right? You know, and you know, I don't know. I mean, even then, you know, like,
it's cheap as well anyway. So from market, so like. And you get fuckloads
that's
a
the
lot
thing
of the time.
I've never understood. They're always actually quite competitive.
They're really good. They're
which
fucking
people don't
great,
seem to
actually.
realise.
So cheap.
I think what, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe for me, because like I might get up late or like be lazy as fuck and stay all day. They're usually open in the daytime, or open. I say, like,
it's really good by the way. But yeah.
But I don't know what stops me actually from actually going to markets more often. Apart from forgetting that they're about.
Okay.
Usually,
you can even walk by and just buy like a cheeky bit of fruit or something.
You can get like a big old watermelon as well for like a quiddish. You know, it fucking fills you up for the breakfast. Lot of like seriously, man.
Yeah, right. And this is the thing. I mean, yeah. The thing, I mean, one of the biggest problems I think is, when you buy an avocado from a market, you're not guaranteed that it's going to be fresh the next day.
No.
When you the thing about supermarket food is that it's very much like, this is all avocados look exactly the same fucking exactly the same fucking it's the avocado, this is the bag of
like when you got
with
something wrapped up and
avocados.
this is the product name.
I have a major gripe with avocados because they're generally consumed by people who think they are saintly when it comes to the environment.
I buy avocado. I mean, I try and be consistent with my purchases, and occasionally have a naughty avocado because I'm vegan. Not because I think it's good for the environment, because it's not. It's not fucking good.
Halfway around the world.
Exactly.
Not only are they flown halfway around the world, coming back onto aviation, freight planes are some of the oldest things flying in the sky. These planes have been doing 25, 30 years as a passenger jet. They've used up their usefulness as a passenger jet because people are like, this plane's shit, I'm not going to fly on that. Yeah. And then what they'll do is they'll slap a cargo door on the side of it and take all the seats out.
Slap an avocado on the door.
It's, no,
Off you go.
These are some of the most inefficient planes.
Fucking hell, man.
And they're some of the most inefficient planes going, and they're horrendous. Yeah, right. I did work experience at Manson Airport, which was mostly freight before it closed in 2013, and there was this Russian cargo plane coming in, and you couldn't see the plane, you could just see a cloud of smoke in the distance before you could see the plane. That's how they could work out where it was, because they could see a line of smoke in the sky, and they're horrendous. They are honestly horrendous. And most freight planes, not even half full. Right. So they're flying these things around half full, and even at zero payload, most planes, so the payload amount of stuff it can take, will still burn 90% the amount of fuel they would if they're full.
Yeah.
So they're flying around half empty.
What would you? I mean, like, so for the sake of pragmatism, what would you say? Like, what would be like your, I don't know, your suggestion for like?
Go more seasonal, because a lot of people have gone used to veg and stuff, and they get year round. Yeah. But people don't think. I never strawberries at the wrong time of year. They don't think about it. They just do.
I mean, I try my best to. I mean, I do have the occasional avocado because I really like avocado. and
that's the problem. You see, we're so used to having this on access that we don't even think about it.
Yeah, exactly, and I could do better to not.
To be fair, the consumer has never been warned about full consequences in like from since consumerism became a thing. So obviously the big one would be animals, and you've also got like what would be behind avocados in terms of what's important,
of course,
how it's important rather.
Well, the thing is, what I like about going local as well, there used to be a lot more variety in like vegetables, for example, local varieties, which have been sort of eclipsed in favour of like your iceberg lettuce, for example. That's just a global thing now. Yeah. That used to be a very specific thing to a specific place in the world, and someone just found it, was like, oh, this is bloody good, I'm going to grow it back where I live. Yeah. But you used to have variety locally, like within a few miles of different stuff. Yeah. So local places used to be known for local things.
I mean, it's a middle way, because like I do like having potatoes and tomatoes and peppers and
who doesn't?
And yams.
Who doesn't?
And I call sweet potatoes yams now, because yam 1 syllable, sweet potato 4 syllable. Yam's also a cooler name, so we start calling them yams now. From? Tates and yams. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Americans say it for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think yams are different to sweet potatoes. I'm not sure, man. It's could be the same thing, or it could be another one of those other potatoes that are similar to sweet potatoes. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah,
someone let us know who's American.
Yeah, if you got any Americans in the comments, like confirm that you call them yams. Is that what we're asking?
Is it the exact same thing as a sweet potato? Here's my question.
Is it exactly the same thing as sweet potato? I think it is, but like, yeah. If you
got
any,
do we have any Americans in the comments?
Oh, we have Americans. We have Americans. Yeah, we have Americans.
Yeah, me off the flag, just saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
throw that out there.
Oh my god, this episode is
What
so
did you say?
unhinged.
I'd kneel for the national anthem.
You kneel for it?
Yeah, I wouldn't stand for that.
I won't stand for that. No.
You kneel. Well, like this is like, is it? What
Do
is
you know the context of that?
I think so. It's a basketball player.
You know,
Who, like, doesn't-
what was his name? The one that was started the kneeling trend. You'll know him, big Kopernik. What was
I
his?
think he was kind of like worshipping, like
Yeah.
even more than standing.
Because
I'm not
they
just
were,
gonna stand. I'm gonna
yeah.
get on my knees for you, man. Like,
It was on taking a knee, basically. So you meant to
Mm.
stand as a sign of respect for the album,
yeah, of
but
course.
a lot of people don't respect what the anthem stands for with the
Yeah.
USA. So I don't particularly either. So I would kneel for that. Then again, I'm not a US citizen, so I don't think it'll make a bloody difference if I did it.
Sorry, I was my computer.
Yeah, I see you playing with the settings there.
Yeah,
Have fun.
right. There was a little thing
Yeah.
that popped up. You see,
Mm.
lots
Cheeky little pop-up.
lots of. This is my most distracted
Mhm.
episode yet.
Yeah.
Probably not my least distracted. But we'll.
What was the most distracted?
No, so this one's been
Okay.
my most distracted so far.
What was the least one?
Rachel's one, I think.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it was just
She's
like-
got way more energy than I have.
Not Rachel, Rachel Gerard. You have to watch the episode.
Oh, was that the one about the one you did recently?
Yeah, yes,
Most
yesterday.
recently. Yesterday. Yeah, that was recently.
Yeah. Anyway, back on topic.
You'll get that, Jim. You'll get that.
So we yeah, like the thing is that like, I like cooking a good curry, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that there's nothing
It's
wrong.
satisfying as
There's
well.
nothing wrong with like gentrifying food, so people can eat stuff. It's so people can eat a variety of foods to keep themselves healthy and
I wouldn't know.
gastronomically entertained. to say that. The obvious problem is when people think that strawberries aren't obviously for summer and apples aren't obviously for autumn, etc.
Yeah.
And I've always been raised as from a young age to you buy apples, we buy apples and pears. I mean, you fucking pick them,
I used to go strawberry picking on the marsh.
Exactly.
Yeah, they used to have
Me
a big
too,
old
me
field
too,
of
me
strawberry.
too.
It was lovely.
And we've just fucking like forgotten how.
It's like
to-
somebody's taken control of things that we used to do, such as plant seeds.
I'm not surprised the
What have
strawberry
you?
people went out of business, to be fair, because you'd eat half of them before you get to the weighing scales.
Yeah.
Oui.
Yeah, right. And yeah, so we, I guess the pragmatism is like, fucking don't buy strawberries in winter because they're gonna be from Papua New Guinea or Venezuela or wherever else, and and it's just a fucking waste.
Well, a lot of them, ironically, I think it's tomatoes are a good example. A lot of them are grown in Spain, but they're grown in these gigantic greenhouses which are pumping out hot air constantly. So during the winter months, they've got these things on full blast constantly. They provide tomatoes for those who. A lot of it's in Thanet actually.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of stuff they produce in Thanet. They used to fly them out of Manston as well, and they're awful. They're literally awful. So you're using power just to warm these things up, just to make sure they're growing in these massive greenhouses. They are gigantic. They're huge. They're just rows and rows, miles. These things, and then they fly them around the world as well. Not only do they grow them in these greenhouses, they then fly them to other places because it's convenient, and it's just awful.
And people buy it, and this is the issue with both state both market and state encouraged buy whatever you want. It's not going to last
No.
long, bollocks, and also the individual person who's basically saying, oh well, it doesn't matter too much, or whatever it is, or you see people,
Well, there's a very much a collective groupthink of everyone else is doing it. Why shouldn't I? Because I quite often get that when I go flying around somewhere else. I think that plane's going to go there, regardless of whether I'm on it or not. So I might as well be on that plane. But what I don't realise, I'm also fueling the demand for that plane to go there in the first place.
Exactly. It's the same with meat eating. It's the same with buying strawberries in the summer, in winter, sorry. And this is the thing. We got one more. I think we got time for one more one more brief discussion on something. We spoke about aviation,
Yes.
coronavirus, Extinction Rebellion, and
World event. In
world
and out.
events and entitled consumerism. I think is both
The Western bubble in effect.
the Western bubble. Yeah. So is there any other particular pressing issue in regards to current events or otherwise something that's happening long term that you would be interested in discussing for people to hear?
Oof, that's an interesting question. There's so much going on.
Take your time as well. There's no rush.
Yeah. What's been going on recently? Well, there's Brexit. That's always on the horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that it's gone very quiet. Boris has gone into hiding, in effect.
Yeah.
He's got in place. He's got enough power. He doesn't need to be a public face anymore, so he's not. He's actually hiding down here somewhere in Kent. I think he's in a big tower out somewhere.
Okay.
He's in the closet. Where is he?
Yeah, that's not our landlord in there. It's it's Boris Johnson.
How long do you reckon Boris Johnson would burn on that fire? I reckon he'd be going for.
I reckon a solid 6 hours. Yeah, I want to make a disclaimer. We're not making any threats towards Boris Johnson.
Oh, I am. I'll cut you.
Oh, please don't do that. You gotta
find him first. That's more effort than I'm capable.
I think it's just legal things. If you,
it's true. Oliver, this is going to come up in like 10 years when you're like in the house. I advise.
I'd advise to revoke what you said and say that you're not being serious. Otherwise, this will come up in your political career 10 years down the line, and you will.
Okay. I would admit it. I'm not being serious. That I would actually kill a man.
No.
Also, you
or wound
fucking Tories. I think that's obvious. By the way, I'm not a political figure.
Not yet.
This is the most unhinged podcast I will ever do.
No, it's not. I'm going to be back.
You'll be back. Jack will be back.
I always come back.
Oh, Jesus. Right, we are pretty much on an hour. So, is there anything any last words you'd like to add to?
Do you know what? I thought of something now, actually.
Go on.
You say that. Iran's gone very quiet recently, hasn't it? We were on the brink of a world war, potentially, less than a month ago, and that's gone down. And it relates to coronavirus, actually, recently, because Iran's been very badly affected by coronavirus. Out of all the Asian countries, they've got the biggest amount of cases outside of China. And, well, the thing is, it's all come back to Trump, actually, because Trump, when he imposed his sanctions against Iran after Obama, he got rid of the nuclear treaty and everything. It restricted their ability to buy stuff from the Western world. So medical supplies, hospitals, they've got nothing. They can't prepare for this. They can't quickly import something from the other side of the world to deal with this. So Iran's been very badly affected, and there are actually deaths on the hand of the US because of this, in effect. So that's going down. The vice president.
Does it deter nuclear annihilation?
I don't think the threat is ever actually present. I don't believe.
Okay, that's interesting.
That would ever happen because there's too much to lose.
Do you think
what's the game?
Actually, anyone?
Because everybody.
You'd hope so anyway. That everybody is. I don't know, sane enough, like not bloodthirsty or whatever, enough to just because surely they would know that it would put themselves into huge amount of danger as well.
Well, you look at the power structures of the world. All of the major countries, or even the minor ones, are aligned in one way or another, either to Russia, more increasingly China, or the United States, and every single one of them is a major player when it comes to nuclear weapons. So you attack someone, everybody attacks you. So why would anybody attack someone else? You breach the agreement, don't you?
I'm not sure what the agreement is because I'm very uneducated. But
well, I think it's the START 1 treaty at the moment, which was a reduction in nuclear weapons. I'm not sure. It might have been the reduction treaty.
This is why I have you on here, man, because you know all this stuff, but I don't.
And so no, Russia recently, this is a big one you'll be interested in. They created a hypersonic nuclear weapon I think this thing goes. I think it was over Mach 5, so 5 times the speed of sound in effect. And not only can it go 5 times the speed of sound, it can manoeuvre at that speed, so it can dart about.
Wow.
It can effectively go over and under radar coverage, on down, on top of it. No missile system can hit it. So once it's launched, it will hit what it's going to hit, no matter what.
It's like it's based after that Thorpe Park ride stealth.
Yeah, it's stupidly quick. This thing, it's beyond anything we've ever had so far.
Russia,
yeah. And China and the US are developing similar things. They always will. That's just how it works. Someone has it, I've got to have it.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it will never happen, because when every country knows they can hit each other, why would they? What's the gain? Because the officials will be the first people to be hit, like the presidents, because they will, as soon as he's launched, I think this weapon can reach the US in half an hour. That's barely enough time to get into bunkers and shite. So the officials are going to be the ones that will be the first to hit, because they target capital cities, logically, hit the infrastructure, hit the military headquarters.
Financial capital, hit the military headquarters.
And financial wise, especially someone like Trump, he's got everything to lose.
Yeah.
Because without an economy that works for him, what works for him? People just rip him apart on the street. Like, there will be no society. People like him will be meat, in essence.
Yeah,
that's not
a death threat. We're not threatening anyone. Oliver does not.
I don't want any Trump steaks.
No,
including a failed business venture.
We are merely making jests for the sake of public entertainment, and that is all that it is. And I want to make that clear. I want to talk about one more thing before we finish.
Oh, go on then.
And it's not to do with current affairs or anything like that, but you're doing a festival.
Yes, I am indeed.
Called Big O Small F.
This isn't actually scripted. I didn't ask him to do this.
No. I mean this. No. But even if it was, it'd be good. It'd be good promotion. So you're hosting a metal themed festival in Kent, England.
Metal or rock. It'll be at Paddlesworth, out the back of Eurotunnel. Hopefully at Paddlesworth, should I say. I'm waiting for a reply on an email. But it will be on the first weekend of August, the last day of July. And it will go Friday to Sunday, so 2 nights of music. I've got some of the music all night as well, so that'll be going on even after the actual bands have gone. And so come along. It should be about 30-35 quid for entrance.
I shall put 35 quid. Is it on the door, or do you want me to put a ticket thing on the description? If people want to,
there will
people
be
listen
tickets,
to this later on.
They'll be on the door. There'll be all sorts. That's to be.
35 quid. I mean, me and Jack's band are playing.
Yeah.
We should be playing. It should be fun.
Definitely.
People should come down and get drunk or do whatever they have to do.
Thrift will be playing as well. They seemingly are okay with the dates, although that's to be confirmed, so don't hold that one to them.
Right.
So they're another local band. Prater, Hubbard's band.
Yep.
So trying to get as many local bands as I can to try and make it more of a local thing. Cause
what you lose in motorbike, you make up. What you lose in motorbike fuel, you make up for in local bands and local communities. What you lose in as the bakery.
Vegetarian options on the food van. By the way, I think.
Have you got a food van? You got a food van ready?
No, not yet. But I will. There's no way a man like me is not going to have decent food at a festival.
No, for sure.
Like Jack, you saw how much I was eating at Download.
No, I think I did.
I was eating everything when I.
You were drinking everything.
Yeah, see, I was doing that as well.
And that shit was wild. There's a funny story that Dan Daly loves, which is that Oliver was kind of like sitting next to me in the chair, and I think you might have been leaning sort of towards me as well.
Yeah.
And in my head the whole time I was thinking, all right, now he's just done this like huge beer bong or two.
It
or
was
something,
like
with like what's
10 or 15 different alcohols. So there was beer, cider, Guinness, Jaeger. What else was in there? Fucking vodka, rum, whiskey.
So this,
everything we could find, basically.
I think you were leaning and you fell off your chair.
I was whining
the chair, like
because I was
fell
like
because you were leaning on it. And so, like when you got up and then you were leaning on my way, I was thinking, man, he might throw up. So I was ready the whole time.
This was at Download Festival, right?
Yeah.
Festival,
Ironically, it wasn't that one.
And I think as soon as you made like a bubbly kind of gagging noise, I just immediately darted out of the chair. Like, I'm ready for this. It was the weirdest.
Yeah, 'cause there was actually a big space next to me, and I didn't realise why there was.
Be careful of shaking the.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I know that's me.
Yeah. No worries. No worries.
Ironically, that was the second one of those that actually pushed me over the edge, because I already had one
Yeah,
of
I
these
know.
beatbox earlier.
Like,
I was like, fuck it, I'm going to beat that.
And then Mr. Blobby came out to play.
Mr. Blobby went through
We need to get Jimmy
100
to come
feet in
to
the air.
next
Yeah.
one.
My dad, my dad might take me as well. You know, that'd be fun as well. Yeah. So let's finish up there. It's been lovely having you on, Oliver. Thanks for your input, Jack. Unexpected, but lovely nonetheless. This has been Long Live Podcasts. I'm James Reardon Waters, and I hope you curl up warm in a big blanket, to fend off the winter cold before spring kicks in.
Just
Have
get
a lovely.
fat, mate, it works.
Have a absolutely.
Blubber, innit?
I'm getting there. Have a lovely evening and good night.